And just like that, everyone, we are live, episode 62. Brandon, it's 62 of Everything Teams Phone Live. We've been doing this a little bit, buddy.
It's 65 after the couple cameo appearances on the other podcast we had last week in London.
Yes.
At the CommsVerse show. Yes. So it's our episode 62, but I feel like we're on episode like 65.
We've been cranking away on other podcasts, and we've been booked on other podcasts. It's pretty exciting, pretty fun to go talk about shop. Again, we talked about last week how we love to talk shop. Speaking of talking shop, Brandon, we got a couple of new guests that they're brand new to Everything Teams Phone Live, to our millions of listeners. And so why don't you take an intro, Brandon, and I'll take an intro, and then we'll go from there. But everybody, welcome to episode 62 of Everything Teams Phone Live. We're going to talk to you about CommsVerse today. It's the Microsoft Teams show in London. Brandon, why don't you do the introduction, buddy?
Yeah, right before I intro these two fantastic guys, I just want to, kind of set the stage that, from a CommsVerse perspective for our listeners, most of our listeners probably know that we sponsored CommsVerse. We had a big booth, and kind of last minute, for our listeners that don't know, Momentum was on an acquisition thing where they acquired us from G12 Communications, but kind of right around the same time acquired a company called Horizon Telecom out of the Netherlands. And so when we set up our booth at CommsVerse, Rick, you and I, we kind of took this approach of, I don't want to be completely tied to the booth. We need to figure out how to get some other people to join us to help man the booth. And so we reached out to our new friends at Horizon. We got Barry, and I'm going to get Jeroen. I'm going to get your name wrong. I told you when you introduced me in London, I was going to get it wrong. So I'll let you correct me when I'm wrong. But we met these guys in London. I think we hit it off right away with you guys. Like it seemed like we had been friends for a long time already. Rick, you bailed on us. I had the joy of going out with these guys after the first day of the show, had a few drinks, had some great laughs. So Barry, you're on. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, guys. So you're on. Where are you at right now? Are you in the Netherlands now? Are you outside of Amsterdam? Is that where you're at today?
Yeah. So I'm outside of Amsterdam. That's correct. Our head office is in headquarter office is in Ede, and actually I live close to the office. So I just came back from an appointment, and now I definitely want to join the session today with you guys. So happy to be here.
Okay, excellent. Welcome to the show. And Barry, you're somewhere different. Where are you at right now, Barry? What's going on with you right now?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm on holiday. So after the conference, I packed my bag again, and this weekend I went to Italy for the holiday break. But couldn't resist to be on this to be on this show. So that's why.
I feel like of all of us, Barry is in a really good position right now because I think he's at the beach in Italy. Is that right? Is that you're on vacation at the beach in Italy, and you're there for what, a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
How long are you there?
Yeah, 15 days. So, and it's been like which is in with you guys, I think it's like 80 degrees, something like that. So sunny and a lot of sun and swimming. So that's perfect. Yeah.
That's fantastic and terrible all at the same time, right? Because fantastic for you, terrible for on the beach in Italy. It sounds horrible. Listen, I'm glad someone has to do it though, Brandon. Right?
If I had known that I think Barry purposely didn't tell me, or I wasn't listening, maybe, that he had this great vacation holiday lined up, I would have skipped my flight home from London and I would have diverted to Italy. But I guess I missed
that's exactly why he didn't tell you. All right, he is like, hey, you don't bring sand to the beach, Brandon. You don't.
That's right. I guess I'm not that good of a friend.
All right. Well, everyone, we're here to chat about the CommsVerse show that we were at in London. Before we do that, though, we do have, like I said, we're big time, right? We've got a sponsor. So a quick word from our sponsor, that is Momentum. So Momentum, we move your business forward with Microsoft Teams and IP globally, supporting organizations that are implementing new strategies in the communications and IP space. Momentum. Look to us to move your business forward. Brendan, terms and conditions?
Yeah, battery sold separately.
Battery sold separately. There you go.
Sign your contract today.
All right, there you go. So now that's out of the way. Okay, Barry and Jeroen, what did you guys think of CommsVerse first time at a Microsoft Teams conference? I think, right? This one is a quite a large one. It's the original sort of Microsoft Teams show. Interesting. I'd love to get your perspective on what you guys thought. You know, how was it? How was it attended compared to other trade shows, things like that? What did you guys think?
Barry, give it a go.
Give it a go. All right. Yeah. Well, I've actually been to the Dutch Microsoft Ignite for a couple of times, so it's a bit comparable, at least with the setup. So all the information session in different rooms, and then in the breaks having room to talk to all the other guys on the stands and all the other suppliers and customers that are walking around and just want to know more about one specific thing. And in this case, it was Microsoft Teams. So that's really, really awesome to be with an audience that, well, most of them are there for just one reason. That is to learn more about the product and to learn more about all the additional services that are being offered in the market. So yeah, I had a really good converse. Yeah.
Excellent. It is pretty interesting, right? It's you know, if you're in the space, in the communications or collaboration space in Microsoft Teams, it is pretty interesting that this show is built on literally Microsoft Teams, right? And everything around Microsoft Teams when it comes to that. And so it does make it quite interesting when you get to meet vendors and other customers that are interested in supporting the platform and driving more value into the platform for customers that use Microsoft Teams. So it's crazy, particularly if you're not in this space, when you think about all the stuff that can be done with Microsoft Teams. It's crazy, and it's nice to have a show that's dedicated to explaining that to enterprises, to other vendors and partners and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to have a show there. And Brandon, what do you think about the venue?
Yeah, the venue was pretty cool. I think from my perspective, I got kind of this bird's eye view of the venue from outside, right? Because I decided to stay at the hotel right there on the Mercedes-Benz World campus. So, you know, I first show up, I get to the hotel, I get to see the driving tracks, and so it kind of first it sets the stage for, oh man, this is kind of a very lively environment. There's people coming and going, lots of activity and commotion going on. On top of that, it's set up kind of like a little bit of a museum as well. So it's a little different than some venues where, you know, at least here in the US, a lot of venues are kind of convention center style. So there's not a lot going on in the convention center itself. You have to kind of go outside of that, versus this was immersive in that you come in. Obviously, the event was everything about Teams, but then right next into it are all these Formula One cars, Mercedes, you know, really nice cars on display. And I think some of our counterparts were out, you know, doing their I say podcasts, their live streams in the back cars as they're drifting around this track at Mercedes-Benz World. So a very unique, very neat setup, I thought.
Yeah. Jeroen, what did you think of the Mercedes-Benz World? Was it pretty cool?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you look at if you look at developments and new technologies, etc. I think it's a nice setting the scene, because Microsoft is all about evolving new innovations, etc. And for me, Formula One also corresponds to innovation part, and that really came together in a really great way. And what I especially noticed from the event itself, that's eventually, you know, I'm not the Microsoft Teams expert as you guys are, right? Let's face it. But what I really noticed, it's an ecosystem of different partners which joining together in one event, one exhibition. And I really like the way it was set up in a not too big scene, but you know, everybody has some contact with each other and is drinking some beers in the evening, and everybody is talking to each other. So it's really a nice thing to walk there and get a lot of understanding of what's happening in the market developments and the different partners you can talk to. So for me, it was really an eye opener, because normally I'm in these kind of events, I'm like, okay, what I'm doing here, because I'm just walking around. But now I really got to do some good impressions from different people that joined the session. So I really appreciate the fact and meeting you guys, of course.
Yeah. So what is Jeroen? What do you do, Barry? What's your role? And we'll ask Barry too in a minute. But what's your role specifically at Horizon?
Yeah, so actually, for the people listening to us, we've been acquired by Momentum Telecom last year, and basically we are, you can consider us as the European landing station for companies in regards to international requirements for Teams, connectivity, SD-WAN solutions, and all kind of service management related items. And my role specifically is I'm the senior consultant, and actually I act as the commercial spider in the web. So we have a bunch of team working together from clients. We work with client teams, and being a senior client means that I'm working with existing clients, but also doing new business parts. And one of my best colleagues is also part of my account team with the clients. That's Barry. And Barry, I will be glad to have yourself introduce yourself. So give it a go.
Thank you. Well, I'm the voice consultant within Horizon Telecom, which actually means that I'm supporting Jeroen and other sales consultants as soon as it hits voice. So it can be a question about calling in a warehouse, for example, or just in a simple office, or maybe some contact center needs are required. So that's eventually when I show up, talk to the customer about their demands and their wishes. And based on that, we're aiming to provide the best solution for the customer. And of course, I'm also there during the project as it's being rolled out, to make sure that everything that's being spoken on actually in the first time in the sales in the sales project is also being delivered with project management. So everything about voice.
Okay. All right. But you know what? Brandon has to keep me making sure that that everything that I say is accurate when I talk to, partners and or clients, potential clients. Brandon's like, hang on a second. Is that right? Did he say that right? And then he finds a very elegant way of letting me know that I was wrong, and I'm and so much so that I don't even believe that I was wrong, but I was, and so I'm like, man, he's pretty good at that. So I can understand, Barry, if you're working on helping keep you're on the narrow path for voice, making sure that what he says is
but not so elegant.
Right.
But not
so I don't necessarily have the Dutch touch where I just say you're wrong.
No, Rick. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for kind of letting us know what it is, because it's important as we go to a show like that. As an example, there was enterprises there that were either customers of Horizon, or customers that are prospects that are looking for services, and then again, just partners and all those things. So you guys ran into some partners or customers, that you have currently. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
And I think you've also seen it in your show. So you did some good presentation on stage, and then actually you got some questions about the presence of Momentum in Europe, where Horizon Telecom was mentioned, and then they were saying, okay, Horizon Telecom, we're doing business with them. So it was a good combination of both, I guess.
Actually, it was quite fun. It was quite a fun thing, because the guy ran up to you after the meeting. So what the hell are you guys Americans doing in Europe?
Yeah.
And then you got us spot on.
That's pretty funny. Brandon, how did that break out? We finished our session, right? We finished our session up, and we were kind of wrapping up. Everyone was exiting. It was standing room only, by the way, standing room only. And a gentleman comes up to us and starts asking questions about why we're in London pitching services. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what I said, or the joke I said earlier, the Dutch touch of, gentleman walks up and just very bluntly, and, Europeans probably know Americans are very passive. We're not as direct. We can be direct if we need to be, but we're generally not direct. So this gentleman walks up and just very bluntly is like, essentially, what the heck are you Americans doing at this show? Like, essentially for us to interpret that as, you guys don't belong here. And that's obviously not what he meant. He was just, inquiring as to, hey, what brings you here? And so, yeah, we eventually got down to, well, Horizon Telecom is our subsidiary or our sister company owned by Momentum. Lightbulb came on, and the interesting thing, as an American, I could have chose to be offended by that approach, but instead, we rolled with it. Turns out that this gentleman joined us later for what I would call happy hour. When we left the conference, ended up having just a great conversation with him, and obviously our friends here from Horizon, and that's turned into a much bigger conversation now, going into the Momentum set of solutions around specifically facts in this conversation. So it was it was a great session that we did. It opened up a lot of conversations, and I think some of those conversations we were happy to have, Jeroen and Barry join us, because they were European conversations that we could say, hey, let me introduce you to these Horizon guys. We're here to help you be successful.
One of the things I took away from from the show is there are tons and tons of customers that need that sort of global presence, right? And we all know they're out there. We know we talk to them all the time, but in such a concentrated forum, there was 700 or so people there, right? In such a concentrated forum, everyone that was a passerby of let's say the booth, right, or a member of the audience, they didn't just have local needs; they had global needs across the board. And I thought that was interesting, because one organization is tens of thousands, and one's 4,000 or 5,000. And we had really engaging conversations there at CommsVerse that was very specific, right? Whether it's Operator Connect or direct routing or faxing, right? That the conversation that you're talking about, that led into a greater conversation about, hey, can your faxing application do this, right? I mean, that was one of the things that we took away from the show, is the fax application that we're launching here, beta July 15th. We can take that stack and put that stack into a fairly large financial organization and put it in their ecosystem or infrastructure, right? So I thought that was a pretty interesting sort of revelation from the show. Like, oh, we could do that. That's actually something we could do. And that came up from the gentleman that approached us at the end of the session. Interestingly enough, there was a line of people waiting to ask questions at the end of the session, and they were all surrounding fax, right? Global faxing, which was pretty funny, because Barry and Jeroen, do you guys run across faxing today anymore, or do you usually not run across faxing? What's your normal sort of thoughts
let me phrase that this was really an eye opener for me. We've just been acquired by Momentum, and let's say the Dutch way, in the Netherlands, fax is dead in general, but we didn't expect it to be like a formal way of communication still, of the formal way of communication and legislation in the US, although Germany we knew of it. And we were not aware, especially, or I was not aware, that it was such a big thing for companies in the US. More specifically, based on the fact that we deal with a lot of clients who have a B-end office in the B-end office in the Netherlands or in Europe, and then have an A-end office in the US, which gives us a tremendous amount of business potentially. And that was really an eye opener for me. And I think this is something which is definitely investigate together. This was great to see. Yeah, and I think, Barry, for you the same thing, isn't it? Or what do you think about it?
Yeah, so the fun thing is, if you're talking about fax within Teams, then, well, the first thing I did was I laughed a bit and thought, yeah, who needs fax, right? So it ain't 1968. but it's still there. And the fun thing is, so when we're saying, hey, it's actually within Teams, and then I also see the other guys go, no, let me show you, and afterwards they're saying, hey, this is really a good idea. Why haven't I thought it myself? You know, it's easy. We could have done it, but you did. So that's really funny, and that made the conversations also quite interesting. Yeah.
It's one of those things that, you know, and we laugh about it over here just because, you know, particularly Brandon and I as service providers and the folks that, you know, basically put this together, right? We kind of chuckle because every time we talk to a European organization or European partners, we see it in some of our LinkedIn threads, right? It's like, hey, you know, fax is dead. We don't use faxing here in Europe. But we were in Europe and we gave the presentation on faxing or on Operator Connect and faxing. And all of a sudden, you know, there's a line of people waiting to ask questions because they need an elegant way to solve faxing. So I thought that was pretty funny that there's still quite the need for faxing, even globally, when I thought this was just going to be a North American thing. Brandon?
Yeah, I'm going to set the stage for a question that I'm looking for feedback on. I don't think it was just fax either. It was the extensibility of, you know, as we were giving our session, we were talking about, you know, more generally why Teams is going to dominate in the next year or two in the collaboration space, and it's the extensibility of the environment. It's being able to reach into beyond your client. That's, you know, your traditional service providers give you a soft phone, maybe with some traditional features, whatnot. But our ability to go in and demonstrate that, listen, we can take it beyond those basic features and we can start doing feature enhancements on it, whether it's adding fax in or it's, you know, I don't know if you guys were part of me showing or if you were in our session showing the voicemail transcription and translation, and then sending that through an adaptive communication thread so that people can collaborate on it. But just this ability to extend the unified communication space really out into the bounds of your imagination. So I guess my question is, as you guys attended sessions and you made your way around the showroom floor, you know, before the show versus post show, were there things that you guys took away going, oh man, I now can be more creative as I'm talking to customers, or I can help my customers be more creative because I've seen X, Y, and Z at the show? Were there takeaways for you guys, I guess is what I'm asking.
Terry, you want to kickstart?
So what we so what we as Horizon Telecom did in the past was more like, okay, hey, you have all the options within the phone system of Microsoft, the call queues, the auto attendance, etc. Isn't that enough? Then we were adding a full-blown contact center on top of that. And what we have seen in all those sessions is that it's also, let's call it contact center light or just parts of contact center that can be individually be bought and take from a customer or to a customer. For example, recording only or analytics only or something like that. So it's more that we are now able to listen to the needs of the customer, saying, you only need analytics for a specific department, for a specific solution. That we can offer, instead of saying, hey, we have a full-blown contact center solution, so please use it because that's what you need. So I was really I was really helped with that kind of information. And of course, all the sessions, AI was mentioned, and about all the big things that we're going to do with it. It's okay to be there and talk about AI and the security risk, etc. And on the other hand, when I'm looking at my customers and sitting at the table with my customers, yes, they're thinking about AI, but it's not there yet at the table. So it's good to have the availability in the future to get it to your solution, but the add-ons which I'm talking about right now, so the analytics, the recordings, etc., that's what they're needing at this moment.
Yep, absolutely. Jeroen, did you realize that Teams is almost like the I would call it like the iPhone or Android, in that we often say that it's becoming like the operating system of the business, right? Because most people don't know that there are, Brandon, what is it, like 4,000 applications built into Microsoft Teams, kind of like the App Store. But people don't see it because administrators block off all that stuff. Did you know? And is that news right now that there's 4,000 different apps? I mean, you probably saw it at the show where there's a lot of applications that are built into Teams. Did you know that? Because you're dealing with customers not just in voice. We deal with customers just in voice all day, every day, but you're dealing with customers on a global level for everything. And I was curious, as deep as this show was, does it kind of go, oh wow, I didn't know that this is like that?
Yeah, definitely. So what I took out of the show, and also when in conversation with you guys, it's not, we're not talking about voice solution in general, right? We're talking about an ecosystem of application. And if you address the ecosystem of application in a proper way, it adds more value than just bringing one thing along to the client and having a conversation about voice logs, right? So, and that really get me thinking, like, normally we would have been talking about the direct routing stuff, etc. But there's way more ways in that you can start a conversation and adding way more value to the calls and the meetings you have with clients, because Microsoft's building the whole complete platform, which is completely built on applications, and it's pushing it in the market. Because if you look at the licenses that Microsoft provides, they're adding more and more stuff, not only in Teams, but also in security and all these kind of aspects. So it's therefore really important to understand the value of the different components in it, rather than just one thing. That's what I really took out of the show.
Yeah, that's it. And I love what you're talking about, where you can essentially become, how we sell network services and voice service, all that good stuff. But it's essential, I think, for us to start becoming more of a business consultant, right? When you think about the problems that a business has, the problems that a department has, the problems that the owner of the business or the leader of that department has, and that they're trying to solve, and you look at those problems and you go, I can solve those in a different way using automation or using click to call or using different components of the Microsoft ecosystem. And yes, voice is all part of it, and you're going to sell a voice system to kick things off as the basis of sort of the kickoff. But it does get you get your, exactly what you said. It gets your creativity thinking about, hey, we can solve that problem this way. It has nothing to do with the voice system that we're going to sell you or the voice system that you need to be a part of, but we're going to solve the problem that maybe it's your after hours, and before, there's organizations that live after hours world, and they provide after hours, some sort of communication after hours. And I think, Brandon, you've shown several times what an after hours platform could look like using a component of the ecosystem. And what is that, Brandon?
Yeah. I mean, that's the Power Platform, right? And I'm going to kind of lean a little differently, because I was thinking about this observation that I made while I was at CommsVerse, but I'd like some feedback from you guys. And Rick, you and I think we talked about it. Speaking of, becoming more of a business consultant and more of a less about dial tone slinging and more about application solutioning. When you're sitting on that showroom floor at CommsVerse, I don't know how many, vendor booths there were, but there were, I don't know, 50, 60 booths maybe. And how many service providers were actually present? There was 3, maybe 4 of us service providers present.
I remember 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember a 4th. I'm not going to throw names out there, but anyway, let's say of the 4, how many of them are actually leaning into this idea of, hey, it's no longer about your dial tone. It's more about, I'm going to bring you a application solution that meets your business need. And then, point being, on the showroom floor, look at how many people, how many booths were present that they were solving very specific solutions around the Teams ecosystem, whether it's analytics, call recording, or other enablement features. I think that just speaks to the testament of the adoption of the application vendors to Microsoft Teams when you compare them to, meaning when you compare Microsoft to whether it's the Zoom, Cisco, or other, SaaS voice service provider world. I think that's pretty impressive, and I think that speaks to the testament of how flexible Microsoft is. And that, for me, when I'm talking to potential customers, that's one thing I try to bring up is what other partner are you, not Momentum, but like Microsoft type partner, are you going to find that brings this much creativity and this much solutioning into a single platform compared to what you can do with Microsoft Teams? And that, back to what you were saying, is it changes the way you start the conversation. It's no longer about, oh yeah, I can give you direct routing or I can give you Operator Connect. It's you, just like Rick, you and I were on that call. You tell us what you need, you ask your questions, and we will start to come up with the creative solutioning around, whether it's sentiment analysis or whatever else it might be. So sorry, that was kind of off track on your question, but that was my take.
I also think that looking at the different way of different people you speak to, normally we would speak to the IT manager or procurement or whatever. And I think this gives a whole new way of thinking and the person you speak to, because eventually you're adding more features and more value in the relationship. And if you're adding more value to the relationship, you get trusted in a way that you're a trusted advisor instead of a supplier, right? And that is the way we would like to do business. So I think from your side, Rick, I was standing a bit aside when you had a conversation with one prospect. And what I noticed, you raised 4 questions and you got to the point. It was like, bam, you got to the point. I was like, well, okay, this is a bit different than I would normally would see or whatever. And I think both Barry, I, and Jacco, who was also joining, we were like, well, these guys know how to do it. So it was fun to learn from that. Yeah, definitely.
But Brandon, I'm going to answer your question, Brandon, because your question, you threw a question out there, basically is how many of those providers are taking an approach that is solving business solutions? And I'm going to tell you, it was a big old zero, right? I don't think anyone out there except for Momentum is looking at it holistically and going, here's a problem that we can solve with this power, automate sort of code, right? And as a matter of fact, you gave away, Brandon, not intellectual property. You gave away our essentially structure, right, to some people that were in line going, hey, I love what you created. How do I get my hands on it? And you're like, it's just built in Power Automate. And here's the file. Here's the file. Here's the file. It's a, so they can go and implement that on their own. So coming up with solutions like that and giving it away as an example, I thought was really awesome.
Yeah, and that, I mean, again, that the story there was, gentleman approached us after our session, and he, we had demonstrated some examples of what you can do with Power Automate, and his story was, hey, I'm with a big nonprofit organization. Our budget is really tight. We can't afford to pay all this money for whether it's pro services or whatever, and yada, yada, yada. And we love what we see, but we'd love to talk to you about how we could get our hands on this. And right there, I just said, give me your email address. I'll send it to you, because at the end of the day, some of these solutions, right, there might be proprietary thought behind it, but it's not proprietary code. It's not anything that, you would necessarily go out and sell. But I think the thing that goes to demonstrate is our ability to pivot quickly with a customer, whether they're really a customer or not, so that we can establish ourselves as, hey, we're the thought leader in the space, and we're here to prove it.
And I think that's, and you're on, just to bring it back. And that's what I guess, when we were having that discussion with that company, it is asking questions for us. It's like, what are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go with this? What are you trying to accomplish? And we just got right to it. You're right. I mean, we asked 4, 5, 6 questions and really just got right to it. In this world where we see a lot of customers coming at us, we do have, I guess, a good sort of set of questions that we ask to validate how we can support a customer, because we really want to just deliver, a good quality experience, but let them know, what you just said, Brandon, that, hey, we're pretty knowledgeable in the space. We'd love to share whatever we can share with you, and that whether that's giving it away or signing you up as a customer to support you, those are the things that we get to, because man, this stuff is fun. Like, this is just crazy fun. Barry, I mean, did you come away with a different approach after the show based on what information you took in?
For two things. So like you already stated, there were more telcos on the stage. So I think one of the end customers came to our stand and looking at the wheel of Momentum and saying, "Hey, well, actually, I'm with one of the other guys, but." And they're already active in their global coverage is in 24 countries. So yeah, why should I do business with you guys? Well, we're not as big as them, but we're definitely hitting over more than 70 countries with our coverage. So yeah, let's have a chat. So that was a bit of an eye opener. We're always looking at the big guys saying, "Oh wow, that's it." But on the other hand, with the portfolio of Microsoft Teams and of course with Momentum guys, also the added value that you're providing, yeah, the level field is equal, right? So it's just about getting the answers right to the customer, and that will be my approach from now on. Just even start to listen better to the customer than we already did, and provide them not only with a basic solution, but with like Brandon already was saying before, with small solutions in the Power Platform, just to give that extra.
Yeah, just exactly. One of the things that I really enjoy about where we sit today as Momentum is we have a global IP network. I mean, Horizon, you deliver, IP across the world, SD-WAN across the world, and having that expertise and the ability to deliver those services. As G12 Communications, I can tell you that I was like, I don't care what internet you have. I don't care about that stuff. That's not my business at all. I care about, voice, right? And then being part of Momentum, I look at this and go, man, this is kind of exciting, because as much as I didn't want to deal with SD-WAN or voice or network or whatever in the past, I look at that as a massive differentiator in the space, because most organizations are going, we just deliver voice, we just deliver voice, we just deliver voice, right? That are our competitors, that are big competitors. But we look at it now and go, I'm going to deliver voice, I'm going to deliver fax, I'm going to deliver, network, SD-WAN, all these components. And you think about what IT guys and managers and VPs and CIOs are tasked with today, doing more with less. It's easier to have a consolidated vendor list, right? It's easier to have, one vendor provide you a bunch of services, right? So, I look at existing vendors today and I go, what can I buy from you, as an existing partner? Because I don't have to go do a new contract. I don't have to go through my security checks that we go through. I don't have to go through all that onboarding, right? If you have a service that I can, buy, then you're already an existing vendor of mine. It makes it that much easier to do business with each other. So having that wide product portfolio makes things, Brandon, makes things pretty darn easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's that was my thought as I was returning home from London, right? Was I think that's this I'm going to call it marriage made between Momentum, G12, and Horizon. And my thought leaving the conference was, we're not just going to sling PSTN, right? We're going to enable, and as you said earlier, the little sponsor plug, we're going to move your business forward. But the way we're going to dominate is we're going to solution your every need, whether that's circuits, SD-WAN, to how we enable your business processes around collaboration, communication, and that enablement of services.
I think that sounds fantastic. Like that's like, here you go. As a buyer of services, you look at that and you go, man, that's, come create something for me. Like here's what I need, help me create it, help me build it. I pulled up a list yesterday, Power Automate, because we did show a bunch of power stuff, power platform stuff, right? I pulled up a list yesterday, and by department, I was going, okay, what can Power Automate do in sales? What can Power Automate do in finance? What can Power Automate do in HR? Right. And the list of things that Power Automate can do is it's exciting as a business owner or as a department head. It's pretty darn exciting, the things that you can do to create this massive productivity. And one day, I think maybe on the I'll post the list down down in the chat here as we start to engage with some folks here. We'll post a list of some of these cool things that you can do in Power Automate, and if you can imagine other things that you can do in your business, we'd love to see your comments down below. So make sure you comment on what are things you've used the Power Automate system for, or the Power Platform for. Whether it's building an application, whether it's automating some components of your business. Like, it'd be interesting for you to just throw down in the chat. Coincidentally enough, we asked that same question in our session, and no one raised their hand to share anything. But we go back to the stand, right? And a gentleman comes over and is like, yeah, I use something like that. Not quite as, as thorough as what you guys did. This is pretty cool. I'm like, I asked if anybody, like, why didn't you? I didn't want to put my hand up and say anything. I thought that was pretty funny. It's a technical show though, right? I mean, it's a very product and solution driven show. It's not your typical sales trade show, right? Did you feel that, Barry? It's like it's a different type of show, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so the typical sales show is with all the guys in the suits, looking all kind of fancy. I think here the most worn shirt was of Star Wars, and then all the Marvel shirts were up. So yeah, and that's typically for the audience there. And and like I said, they're just there with one goal. It's to provide more business around Microsoft Teams, and not looking in the best way with the nicest suit. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, well, that's we're hitting top of the hour here, Brandon. We slated 45 minutes for this show as a recap of CommsVerse. It was at Mercedes-Benz World in London. I didn't drive, disappointingly, any cars, and let me tell you why. Because they didn't have any McLarens. Oh, it was Mercedes.
That's not the truth. The truth is he didn't drive a car because he would have bought one had he driven one.
That's right. That's exactly right. I'm a former Mercedes AMG owner several times over, and I'm quite the fan. And I was definitely not wanting to hop into. The last time I hopped into a Mercedes, it was the newer G-Wagon a few years back, and I'm like, I've got to have this, and ended up in a Porsche. But the Mercedes, quite the fan of the AMG naturally aspirated engine, and the supercharged older ones, the 5.5 liter. So yes, I'm quite the fan of AMG. So it was actually quite fun. I wish I would have driven one of the cars there, because they have the wet track there. You do the donuts and stuff like that. Did any of you guys drive a car there while you were there? Or we were just all too busy.
Just a simulator. Yeah.
Well, actually, Barry, 1 week prior to the event, 2 weeks prior to the event, we had our own event in the Zandvoort track, or close to the Zandvoort track. And that was driving BMW. So German, yes. Mercedes, no. But it gave us an impression that we really thought, let's do it next time. So then next time, come and join us, Rick and Brendan, because I know it's not the Mercedes, but join us for the BMW then.
If it's got an M in there, I think Mercedes or I think BMW, they've got the M is their AMG version. Yeah, it's the supercharged. I bet you guys had some fun. What did you guys do that was fun there? Like at the track, did you guys do the donuts or 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 or what kilometers or 200 kilometers or whatever it is speed you guys did?
All of that.
All of that?
Yeah. Full day. I think it was like a 4 or 5 hour clinic. So there was a lot of fun stuff in it.
Wow, yeah. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, we'll have to join you next time, because I think it'd be just as fun to hop into a BMW and give those a run. I guess the driving performance. What's the BMW slogan? It's something about performance. Yeah. So that'd be pretty cool. Okay, Brandon, let's wrap this thing up, buddy.
Yeah, Barry, you're on. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 62. Barry, enjoy your long, restful vacation. We'll try not to bug you
Thank you.
anymore. For those of us in the States, it's Friday, post-holiday. If you're working, great. If not, enjoy your long weekend, and we will catch you next week for episode 63.
There you go. You're on, Barry. We'll catch you later. Episode 63 coming at you next week. See you, everyone. Have a great holiday. Bye.
Thanks for having us, guys. Cheers.
Bye.